Okay, so today's Nam Academy is about meditation. We're not going to talk about all of meditation, just one aspect of meditation, and that is, why do we do it, and what are we doing it for? Okay? So, and it may shock you, it may not shock you. So, lots of people, they struggle with meditation. Meditation is hard. So lots of people find that, they're distracted, irritated. Lots of people find that they are, cynical. What's the point of this? Throughout it. There's a big push towards guided meditations. It's a big thing. Pick which guided meditation you want to do and just do a lot of different ones all the time. Better than nothing, for sure. But you have to remember what the point of meditation is, and that's to bring you into a deeper relationship of yourself. And so, meditation, the point being, not always relaxing. And if it's not relaxing, if it doesn't feel good, we think to ourselves, it's not working. If it doesn't feel good, we think it's not working. And then we say, okay, well, that's not working. I'm going to go do something that feels better. I like ocean waves. I don't like any of this like breathing stuff or tapping stuff. I just like ocean breathing. Better than nothing, for sure. However, a lot of times when people are meditating and they're relaxing, they're actually dissociating. I would say most people. Most people. When they're meditating, they're relaxing, they're dissociating. Why do I care? Quite honestly, I have no opinion on your practice. You do you. It's all good. Something's better than nothing. It takes a village, it takes a journey. But if you're meditating and dissociating, what that means is 80% of you is absent. 20% is present, just hypothetically. And that means 20% of you is ocean breathing. 20% of you is benefiting. That same 20% of you goes to therapy. That same 20% of you goes and benefits from something. That's the 20% that reads the book. That's the 20% that does all the thing. But it's the 80% that drives your problems. It's the 80% that makes it so you can't sleep. It's the 80% that makes it so that you have hostile relationships. It's the 80% that makes you meditate for years and not get anywhere. So it's very important. Nam, we treat treatment-resistant recovery. So when we see somebody, we look for the blocks. And this is a big one, dissociating while meditating. So if someone does not meditate at all, okay, we start somewhere. And usually that helps. And then the ones that have meditated lots, but life is dysfunctional and symptomatic and tons of meds and nothing's working and can't get a job and life's not great, and yet they're doing all the right things. Or they're praying, they're very religious, and they're praying deeply and, totally blissing out in yoga, and yet life's not going. There's a block. And when there's a block, I would suggest you think about dissociation. So that's why I say meditation is not always relaxing. True meditation is an effort. Sometimes you meditate, it sucks. It's tough. You're distracted for 30 minutes. It's like, what did I do? Why did I pray? What's the point? My attention wasn't there. But you've missed it. Because the struggle equals the block. And the block represents the work. The struggle, when something's coming hard, it's blocked. That same block is affecting lots of parts of your life. Putting your attention on a block will start to dismantle it. You just have to be patient. And that's why we say the work. The work of recovery is in the blocks. It's in the struggles. It's not in the feel-good. We were talking about teachers. Teachers irritate you because they cast light on your blocks, and the blocks, it's irritating, you know? It's like, why are you always criticizing me? Why don't you, you know, like a teacher will push you. And I just want to, the struggle to build concentration in yoga, we call this, there's actually 8 limbs of yoga. It's not just like stretching 8 packs and Lululemon, right? That's not yoga. That's like what the West has distilled yoga into, right? Half of yoga is dharana, dhyana, pratyahar, and samadhi. These are the 4 meditative limbs of yoga. Pratyahar is sensory awareness. It's the ability to sense what your body is receiving. When I first, one of the most irritating things my teacher would do to me, in front of the class, she'd be like, Harbir, what are you feeling? And you know what, in like Sikh sort of, culture, Punjabi culture, you don't talk about these experiences. It's kind of like you don't, it's kind of like an ego thing. If you talk about this amazing thing you have, then you just, but I'd get irritated because nothing would happen. So an amazing yoga class, deep spiritual stuff. Nothing would happen. I'd be like, yeah, I feel a little relaxed. And I think that would irritate her because she's like, she could see the amazing things happening. She's very sensitive. But I couldn't feel it. My body was an antenna, but it wasn't finely tuned. Stuff was happening, I couldn't feel it. When you're meditating is like irritating, stuff's happening, but you can't feel it. So then our ego responds to that and gets irritated. That's what happens. So I had to build my pratyahar. I had to be able to sense what my body is feeling. When my heart starts going fast now, if I'm totally fine, then I know it's someone else in this room. I was once leading a meditation, heart breathing, and I started having intense belly aches. I was like, what the heck? This isn't mine. And at the end, I asked everyone how they were, and then one of the ladies, she was like, oh yeah, I had an intense bellyache. I was like, oh, okay. This was her stuff. You won't believe it. I don't need you to believe this. You don't have to believe this. But my point to you is if you don't have sensory awareness of your body, you're going to miss a lot of the benefits of these deeper things. How do you build that? You practice repetitively. You practice repetitively. Yoga is a great way to build pratyahar. I did yoga for long periods of time. Dharana is the ability to focus in one point. Looking at that clock. We have a clock? No, we don't have a clock. Looking at this painting. One of the children of one of my patients made. And just mostly, you know what we do in the West? We just look around. We're like, oh yeah, there's that person. Hi, how are you? Don't want to know, but You never do that? Hi, how are you? Don't want to know. Please don't say anything. And then they say something, and I was like, oh, crap. It's the sad state of affairs of society, right? Hey, how are you? But you don't really want to know. Why? Because we don't want to focus on anything. You start looking at that painting, initially you see some old guy with a beard, but you start looking a little longer. You start noticing the detail. It's a black outline, there's a beard. The beard's not uniform, there's things to it. So the longer you keep concentrating on something, the more about it becomes revealed. But in this ADD kind of world we have, we're like open news on 50 pages and just kind of, we lose our ability to focus on anything. And we miss the subtlety of that. That in yoga is called dharana. Okay? These two you can work at. These two are a blessing from the universe to you. These are deeper experiences. There's different words across religions, cultures, of the ecstatic bliss that comes from dhyan and eventually the experience of samadhi. Lots of people, oh, I've had samadhi. Samadhi. It's called samadhi, and it's actually very rare. And I want to explain this to you. Because you have to understand why to meditate, otherwise you're gonna give up on it. So I know I'm making light. I don't mean to make light of your struggles or your experiences. But I have to be direct as a teacher. I have to teach. And so you don't know what you don't know. And so take the good, leave the bad, and forgive me. So I'm going to draw a graph. Because you know I love graphs. Okay? So when you build your practice of meditation, lots of scriptures talk about this, texts, old texts, biblical, other texts. Meditation is as old as mankind. It's not new. Okay? And the ones who know about it are not, there's a lot of secrets passed through the lineages. And so, meditation is all about depth. So this is the depth to which you go. So this is deepest, and this is shallow, and this is time. Okay? So the deeper we go, the more we get. So the way it works in a meditation, you start out like you start out like this, right? Go a bit deeper, and let's call this the irritation zone, right? So you get irritated, and then you get let's call this the blank zone, right? So you get irritated, you start getting a bit blissful, then you get distracted, you can go back up and down, right? That's kind of a lot of people's experience of meditation. It's kind of up, down. It might be doing this, but if you don't have any experience, if you don't practice, we're a fast food culture. No one wants to practice. We want a pill. We want to go to a course like this and be good. Oh, Dr. Gill, daily practice, so much work. Can't you just give me a pill? I get this like every day. And if I don't get it every day, people are thinking it every day. But the reality is, if you don't practice, you won't even. You're just gonna think it's a flat line. Nothing's happening. On to the next thing. But if you stick with it, you're gonna start to appreciate the subtle ups and downs. And I'm gonna tell you the secret. I'm gonna tell you the secret. On YouTube. All of this struggle is for one moment. And that's when, for whatever random reason, you dive in. It may be just a second. It may be a few minutes. That few seconds is the whole reason you did any of that for 20 years. I was at a yoga course a while ago, and the guy I was staying with, it was like a boarding house thing, and the other guy, he was doing this like weird posture called bound lotus, and he was following some guy in a blog, and he said, and so this guy would do this posture bound lotus for 30 minutes a day, and I don't advise bound lotus to any of you, but he was doing this practice and this thing, and he wrote, and he was doing a daily blog publish. He's publishing a blog every day, and he said something in it. He said, on the 15,000th day, his blog post was, that experience was so deep, it was deeper than all the 14,999 combined. That's how deep that experience on the 15,000th day was. That's how it works. You do all the 14,999 days just for that one day. And you don't know when that's going to happen. You will not know. One thing you know for sure is if you don't do the 14,999 days, that won't happen. But when that happens, you have now changed forever for the positive. So when you do a daily practice, it's a struggle. But you have to know why you struggle, because in this one moment you've processed thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours of trauma processing. That sounds more worth it, doesn't it? In that one moment, that deep moment, and you guys must have experienced something, right? Like, have you ever, hands up, ask yourself, a moment during the day that just made sense. Everything just clicked. You're in the zone for a minute, for 30 seconds, for 5 seconds. Stuff just made sense. And then it was gone. You ever had that? You've had that, right? Everyone's had that. It's a human inborn faculty. You must have had that. If you don't have the attention, you might not notice that, but it's happening all the time. Randomly, we will dip down into deep states of consciousness where we can heal. With practice, right? Let's say, I'm going to draw a little interrupting line, and let's say after a couple of months or years of practice, maybe it'll look like this. And in one experience, you might have a couple of dips down. Maybe after a while, you might have, when you go down, you just stay down. Until you want to come back. The greats, like the greats, they just stayed down there. That's why they were great. The point is, coming back to the original topic, meditation, distraction, irritation. So you change it up, you find the thing that's most comfortable, you avoid the long deep breathing, you avoid the mantras or whatever is before you, and you go to what's easy. Oh, I don't like to meditate, I just exercise. Yeah, I'm a big fan of exercise, I'm a doctor. Prescribe exercise. It's good. It's not meditation though. It's a kind of thing, but it's not a substitute. Stillness. You need stillness for this to happen. You need to build that. You can build that. That's your right. That's your right. It's a divine right for you to experience these spikes of unity. And so the more you practice, the more you cultivate the aspects of, I don't care if you don't believe in this stuff, it's still true. You don't have to, I don't want to offend anybody, but these are just faculties of the mind. We are an antenna, and we have these faculties. We have these aspects. We can develop them or not. That's a choice. We can stay a diamond in the rough, or we can be really sparkly, but it doesn't change the fact that we're diamond. The only choice is, do we develop it or not? And that's cool. That's totally cool, whatever you decide. But that does not change the fact that you're diamond. So, meditation. It's not always wonderful and blissed out. If it is, really think about if you're dissociating. Probably are. If you are, watch some of the videos. Watch a video on tapping. Tapping is a great way to bring yourself in. Heart breathing as you meditate. Earth breathing. CRM earth breathing, it's great. Embodies the heck out of you. The meditation that you do when you're embodied makes a difference. The meditation you do when you dissociate, you can do that till the cows come home. Some aspect of you may get developed, but other aspects will not, and you will remain in misery. Or you'll just give up on it. The choice is yours. I think I covered everything. Questions? Well, I covered an aspect of it. I've taken whole, many weeks and months, and you know what, I've done so many different trainings and experiences, so the goal is to bring this to the person so they don't have to go do all that. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a journey. No. Yeah, journey is a must. But maybe you won't have to. If I knew the things I learn now, prayer, for example. I know that's a charged word. People don't like it, so they can use the word intention setting or whatever you like. But prayer is the sister practice of meditation. You pray. It's a different function of tarana. Instead of focusing on receiving, you focus on putting out an intention. An antenna can do that, can it? Right? Antenna receives, but it can transmit. You can transmit. What do they call that? Law of attraction? Right? Law of attraction, that's the thing. Right? So practice that. You're doing all this work. Transmit a little. Oh, what do you need? Put it out. Put it out to the universe. Universe, I need this darn thing to stop bothering me. I need this relationship to be okay. I need this issue to be healed. Worst thing that can happen is it won't work, but an antenna that transmits, it's like those emergency antennas, right? Help me, distress signals. In the movies, right? That recording has been playing for 5 years. Right? That's how these movies usually start, right? You're an astronaut in a thing, and then the distress signal. But have you ever asked yourself how long that distress signal was actually on? It could have been on for 10 years. Was it worth it? Well, yeah, because that 10th year, someone picked it up and someone acted on it, and must have a scraggy beard or something, but at least you got picked up. You have to think about it. It's like religion and trauma. Okay, fine, all that. It's all fine. You have your thing. You're gonna have to deal with that. But just think about it. You're an antenna. What's wrong with putting out a distress call? If you're in distress, what's wrong with would you ever blame someone in distress for putting out a distress signal? Think about it. So, prayer or intention setting is the sister practice of meditation that uses the same mechanisms, but instead of receiving and being silent, you are putting out. And what you'll realize, it's that to and fro. Real meditation is this. Putting out, coming back. Putting out, coming back. That's real meditation. Lots of things around that. And your journey will be to sort of figure out where you sit with all that. I hope that's helpful. Question? I can take a few questions. We'll start with you.
Other than repetition, do you have any other suggestions, like how to go from a more dissociated to embodied?
Yes. There's some excellent things that you can do. Breathing. Heart breathing is brilliant. Because when there's a YouTube talk on breathing. It's a great question. So how can we not dissociate? Lots of things. There's a video on grounding on your Nam Academy. Go watch that. Grounding yourself so that you're present is crucial. Please stop wasting your time ignoring this real entity. When you're 80% absent, whatever you do, your time is not being well utilized. Because the 20% that's present has been present for a long time and it gets it. It's why you're seeking help. It's why you're meditating. It's the 80% that's absent that you got to address. And if you don't address it actively, it won't get addressed. So it's such an important question. The best way is to ground breathing. So a visualization. Getting practice at that. Earth breathing, CRM earth breathing is from a lady named but her name is Lisa Schwartz. Great woman. She's done a lot of good work. The heart breath is something she came up with. So it's visualizing breath coming in from above and below, out the front and the back. You can do that as you meditate. That in and of itself constitutes a meditation, just doing that 5-10 minutes. That has to embody you. There's no way to do that without learning embodiment, and you will figure it out. So watch the video. Earth breathing will do it as well. Another way, scent. Lots of people talk about like see 5 things, hear 4 things, do scent. It's good to like ground yourself with like, what's the time, what's the day, those are helpful. Scent, smelling like a peppermint or something, lavender or some oil, brings you rapidly into the room. So if you have a tendency to dissociate, just take a sniff of that. Or a couple, 5 long breaths. And then go to your meditation and just see if it's a different experience. You might find it's a bit more irritating, but it will be more productive. So there's a couple of, does that answer a question, give you a couple of things?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question about the scent. Should you choose a different scent for meditation? Like, sleep hygiene, they say don't put your desk in your room kind of thing. And I'm going to answer the deeper question behind that question, which is, how do I know what's best for me and what works? And this is about intuition. You must learn to trust your intuition. Best way to do that is to ask yourself the question: what scent should you smell before bedtime meditation? Ask yourself this question. Take the first answer that comes up. What's the first answer that came up? Just the first? Yes, if it's working, but if it's, I don't know, I think...
Was yes the first answer that came up?
I think it can be, but be careful for myself anyway.
Okay, so learning to ask yourself these questions, is this right for me? One person, she had this thing, she's like, her thing was, someone taught her that she would stand, and if it's this food that she should eat, was the right thing for her, she would like close her eyes, and if she would sway towards it, it's something to eat, and if she would sort of sway back from it, it's something to not eat. That served her well. In recovery, you have to learn to build your intuition, because there's lots of questions like that. What should you do? And be an experimenter. Be courageous. If you do it and it disturbs your sleep, but it felt productive, then sometimes a disturbed sleep can be very productive. Sometimes it can be unproductive. And so by experimenting and individualizing your recovery to you is the best way. Good? Thank you. Great questions.
How does this help with depression?
It all helps with everything. Depression is, so it's kind of like how does a well-oiled car help or how does maintenance on my vehicle help help its longevity? And the reality is it may not be directly like curative, but anything you do with a meditative mind will be way better, way more efficient. So let's say you go to a group and you listen to a group, but because of your state of your mind, you dissociate quickly. A meditative mind will be able to be more present and take more information from the group. So let's say there's a suggestion there. You have to understand, teachers have been around you for your whole life. You have not been in a place to listen, so they either haven't said anything, or they've said something and you missed it, or they said something and you like flipped off, and you just kind of, right? The reality is you've had teachers, you've had teachings. This book that I read like a little while ago, that's been on my shelf for 3 years. Just didn't have the desire or even the idea to read it. But when I read it, it changed my life. A meditative mind will not ignore those signals. That's how it helps your meditation, your depression. In that it will help you find the opportunities to alleviate. It'll help you deal with the negative belief systems that keep you isolated. It'll help you build resiliency in your mind so that you don't become what your mind is thinking all the time. Right? You're not your mind. You are not your mind. It's true though. You are not your mind. The mind and you have a relationship, for sure. It's the relationship of a horse rider and a horse. You are the horse rider. Your mind is the horse. An untrained horse takes you to, I gotta go see the king. I got a letter to deliver or something. And the horse is like, I kind of just want to eat grass, you know? The rider's like, no, go to the king. Nah, I'm just going to drink water, take a nap, eat grass. And then the king is like, who is this guy? Okay, I'm going to find someone else. This guy's no good. He's useless. You're going to get blamed for what your mind did. So, a meditative mind is something you can train. A trained horse, hungry, thirsty, will give subtle signals to its master. And the master, if it's wise, or he's wise, or she's wise, she will listen. Oh yeah, you're hungry, but this is just 5 minutes. King is waiting. Let's do that. And then we'll go feed you. Win-win. You got to train that. A lot of depression comes from believing things that are just completely outlandish. So that's the other aspect of this answer. Good question. Last question.
You said that stress keeps increasing with time.
Yes.
Or with as we age. And I've noticed that as challenges come my way, I get past the challenges or through the challenges. Then my universe or my higher self says, oh, you're ready for the next bigger challenge. The next bigger challenge comes along and I get through that one. And it says, oh, you're ready for the next bigger challenge. And it seems like that's a never-ending kind of change. And I notice the same thing in meditation. So I suspect it's how we deal with stress or how we deal with the challenge more so than the level. Just make a comment on that.
Yeah, that's a great question, a great comment. I'll just simply say this. Okay, I think we can all, everyone may have different opinions on Jesus, but I suspect Jesus was an expert meditator. That didn't mean life was easy for him. I'm pretty sure he ended up kind of sort of, handling a lot of difficulty, because that's what will happen. The more capable you are, how do you know your level? You get tested. Once I was like whining to my teacher. I was like, life is so unfair, and I'm just so this and that. And then she told me a story about her and her teacher. And she was like, yeah, I was complaining like this to my teacher. I'm going to tell you what he told me. And what he told her was this. What, you think you're some kind of princess? That you're immune to the laws of the universe, you will be tested, and not once, but again and again and again until you pass the test. The test is what allows you to achieve a level. If there's no test, there's no level. There's no certification. You do IOP2, you get a certificate. Why? Because you earned it. Lots of people aren't here who could be. So the tests come. The more intense the test, the greater the reward, which sets you up for a more intense test until you learn the lesson you need to learn. Humility, service, these higher virtues. And then the tests will become, Nam has been an exercise of tests for me. Where's the money going to come from? How are we going to figure it out? What if we have all these people coming? Tests and tests and tests. But when you learn to eat stress for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, Yogi said this, change your relationship with stress. Stop viewing stress as bad. View stress as lunch to be eaten so you can use that energy, harness it, and grow. Not as work, another thing, Eeyore, Well, the universe is going to send you more of that. I know it's going to break you. Call that a mental health condition, depression, call that whatever the heck you like. But the universe will send it to you until you realize your innate potential. So that's so life gets more complicated. Does it get stressful? That's dependent on your relationship with stress. Let's just say life becomes more nutritious, more vibrant, more varieties as time goes on. Or life gets stressful. How you relate to it makes all the difference. A meditative mind can start to tease that out. A reactive mind, and then it makes you, right? That's a choice. That's a cool choice. I have no judgment. No judgment. We are at where we're at. Awesome. I think that's enough for today. Thank you for listening. I'm going to pause the video. And please do watch the other Nam Academy videos. There's a whole bunch of videos related to this one. Grounding, some of the breathing ones, tapping ones, to kind of enhance.